Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fun and Games Podcast. I'm Geoff Moonen.
And I'm Matt A.K. Stormageddon.
And you're listening to episode 117. And this episode, it's all about Sonic. We are talking about Sonic the Hedgehog because of the recent trailer drop as of about 2 weeks ago of the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie. We all have talked about Idris Elba as Knuckles in our own heads to anyone who will listen to us and to those who don't listen to us. And to just this strange, eternal, ephemeral... Well, I was going to go with Echidna there for Knuckles, but Hedgehog.
Yeah. We had been wanting to talk about the Sonic movie for a while,
Yes.
and it just kind of fell to the wayside as we worked on, other stuff, and we had interviews and all sorts of stuff. And with the year coming to a close, we thought this would be a great place to talk about it because of the recent trailer release and the new one coming next spring. I want to start off by just saying I like this movie. I'm a fan of this movie. I think it's a fun movie. Do I think it's the perfect Sonic movie based on the properties we've gotten before? No. But if you're coming here to listen to us bash on this movie, first of all, you're listening to the wrong podcast, because when do we ever trash on anything?
I know, right? If this is your first time listening to our podcast, we try to be honest, but we're not about hate fests.
No, it's why you will never hear us record an episode, at least on this show, about the Super Mario Brothers movie. We already did that on another pass anyway and made a better movie.
And we tried to be as kind as we could.
Yes. But I was looking forward to this for a while. Everyone knows the infamy of this movie. The original Sonic design was horrifying, had human teeth, and was really weird. And
I still see it when I close my eyes.
And so it got a redesign from actually a famous artist who's worked on other Sonic media, which is really exciting. And so now, of course, Sonic looking more like Sonic. There was a lot of fervor behind the second trailer that dropped after they delayed the movie a while. And whether you were a fan of the pressure that they put on the studio or not, because it did add to the workload of the animators who had to crunch to get it done in time for the new release, the movie we ended up getting, I think, is a fine kids movie that happens to have Sonic the Hedgehog in it. I mean, point number one for me of why I wanted to see this movie is I like Ben Schwartz. I've been a fan of his work for a long time, and so him being the voice of Sonic made sense to me. Number two, and this is a big one, I've been a lifelong Jim Carrey fan. I've been watching him since the first Ace Ventura movie. I watched him on In Living Color. Like, I'm a giant Jim Carrey fan, and if you like Jim Carrey, he is the most Jim Carrey he's been in a long time in this movie.
It's also been about 6 or 7 years or so since he's definitely been a major character within a film, if not in films in general. So it was a very cool return to see that.
Yeah, it was a return to form for Jim Carrey, and he's just goofy as hell the whole movie, and it's honestly wonderful.
It's kind of incredible. I watched this with my spouse, and Sarah and I at one point were just talking about the fact that, this is a good role for Jim Carrey. He can just chew on as much scenery as he wants, and yet it works. And we were talking about it back and forth, and it kind of came to the conclusion, and I'm sure I'm not the first to say this, he is somebody as a performer, as a character actor, that can be an absolute living cartoon character, and not just do that, but actually believably fit in with the world around him. There's a lot of other folks that can reach those heights or reach those energy levels, but it comes off as giving a performance or an actor giving a performance rather than this is a living goddamn slapstick cartoon. And are they giving a performance? Yes, in the same way that Bugs Bunny gives a performance. It's a living Looney Tune, and that's kind of what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess a brief story synopsis for those who may not have watched it, but this movie diverges a little bit from the Sonic narrative, whatever you want to call that. The Sonic
whatever that is.
Yeah, because the Sonic games have never really had a clear narrative other than Sonic is the protector of Mobius. Robotnik wants to capture animals and make them into robots. Beyond that, it's, you take your leave the actual plot until we got to Sonic Forces and Sonic Mania and some of the more recent Sonic games. There wasn't much in the narrative, and even then from game to game, Sonic Colors just kind of exists outside the running narrative, so it is what it is.
It's got about as much narrative and narrative incentive as the 80s Transformers shows.
Yeah,
where it's the kind of thing of Transformers the cartoon sold toys, and that's what it was there for. And Sonic, it's a video game. There's a plot, I guess, to the video game. We've added more characters. Why? 'Cause.
Yeah.
Is there a story? We'll figure something out.
Yeah, and so this story is about Sonic, a hedgehog with a special power who can run super fast, who lives on a different planet. And when an echidna tribe comes to kidnap him, his guardian Longclaw gives him magical rings that allows him to jump worlds so he can go run and hide. Turns out he's been living on Earth a long time. Spying, I guess, is the nicest way to say, on the inhabitants of the town.
Yep.
And giving them names and like living his best life that he can while living in seclusion. And then one night when he gets angry, his power goes off because it's triggered by his emotion, doing a whole blackout of like the Eastern Seaboard. And then the government decides to send in Dr. Ivo Robotnik. Is he Ivo in this? He might just be Dr. Robotnik.
He is Ivo Robotnik.
He is. To come and investigate, and insanity ensues as Sonic tries to get protection from the local town sheriff, played by James Marsden, Tom, or the Donut Lord, if you will, and his family. And like, it's just the hilarity that ensues as Sonic is trying to get protected, get his rings back so he can leave this planet and go to the Mushroom Planet, which if that isn't a dig at Super Mario Brothers, I don't know what is.
I also thought it might have been a thing about Mushroom Hill Zone.
I mean, it could be too. I just think having Sonic say he hates mushrooms is definitely like a in-joke, I think, at least, for dissing on Mario, which I think is very funny.
You're probably right.
But like, while I think a movie like this, one, like the Transformers did a similar thing where they introduced human characters to bounce off of the Transformers, and that had mixed success. I think the human characters in this, for the most part, are really well developed. I also happen to like James Marsden. I think he's a fine actor and just seems like a fun person. Also, Tika Sumpter as his partner, Maddie, also very good. And like, yeah. I think this movie moves at a good clip, fast enough, funnily enough, that there's not enough time to like think or dwell on how this story is so different. You kind of just go along for the ride, and it does kind of feel like a ride. It's kind of spectacle after spectacle with quips in between. And I think it's structured really well, and I think the actors are very good. I think that the giving Sonic this kind of different story with heart is interesting.
They gave a reason for him to want the rings.
Yeah. I think all in all, it works really well. I think like the scene where Rachel's daughter, JoJo, gives him the shoes is really cute. And like, I think all in all, it's just a fun movie. And of course, it's a movie that, you know, I'm not going to go through the whole thread of the narrative, but there is a post-credit scenes at the end showing Tails arriving on Earth through a rings portal to find Sonic. We don't know Tails' connection, but it is voiced by a voice actor who has played Tails in the games for a long time, which is exciting, and is confirmed to be playing the voice of Tails in the trailer of the new movie. But all in all, it develops its conflict pretty quick. It shows why Sonic and Dr. Robotnik have a conflict. They get in the Eggman puns pretty early on towards the end of the movie, which is always fun. And I think all in all, I had a good time with it. I think that had it been more poorly created, I probably would have had more issues, but this is not a Mario Brothers movie situation. I think this is a perfectly fine movie that's a lot of fun to watch, especially with kids and people who have no concept of who Sonic is. It gives a good narrative for Sonic for those who have maybe never ever played the games. I
agree. I would also say that to its credit and detriment, it is a little by the numbers. Yeah. As far as a, discovery plot, as a MacGuffin to get the rings and a bunch of things. But that also just lends itself to a backdrop for great character moments and fun quips. And I was never not delighted any moment that Jim Carrey was on screen. And that's not just like, oh my God, Jim Carrey's the best or anything like that. It's just he was having a great time. And there was more than a few moments that I'm just, how much of the script is he following? It doesn't matter. I'm just curious for fact's sake. Like, there's a whole montage of him activating his drones and robots to track everything down in his, like, mobile evil lab Transformers semi-truck base that he pulls up his Anarchy playlist all about evil while dancing around and playing VR games. I could have easily had another 15 minutes worth of that just interspersed throughout the movie. And it was the kind of thing at the end of watching the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, it made me think of the Detective Pikachu movie, which was both good and bad.
Right.
I thought of it in a good way because it struck me in a similar fashion as, okay, there's no reason this movie should work. There's that kind of thing you go, oh, it's a Pokemon movie. Oh, it's a Sonic movie. We made a CGI hedgehog and we put him with people. Well, the video games where you put the hedgehog with people also don't work.
No.
You've done it. I don't like it. I don't like it. But you made it happen, guys. You did it in the movie, and I'm with you there. Who cares about, like, absolute suspension of disbelief because it's a movie, but also, like, you made this work. It didn't feel awkward or strange in the same way that the Detective Pikachu movie, which we talked about a while back, where it was like, yeah, this all jives. You made a world. Awesome. I think the fact that this is very much the real world is a little odd or creates some dissonance, but that's fine. But it also led me to that conclusion of it's a bit of a by the numbers movie because Detective Pikachu had a little more to say and a little more to explore. And I think that's also because the Pokemon games as narratives have narratives, even when they themselves are their own by the numbers or cookie cutter. There's baked into that paint by numbers is certain explorations, whereas Sonic, gotta go fast, gotta break robots, gotta have rings. Everything else is references or open to interpretation. But all of that being said, watching the trailer for Sonic 2, all I could think was, this is the Sonic movie they wanted to make.
Yeah.
We sat through a delightful but origin movie, and there's been plenty of those. But Sonic 2 feels like, all right, we're going full Sonic here.
Yeah.
And I know I've said Sonic a bunch of times, but that's just what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're convinced that we need origin movies, and on some degree we do. Like, you want to know why these characters are doing what they're doing. But I think that the reason the first movie works is because they don't take themselves too seriously. They have a good time.
Agreed.
I mean,
yeah.
Honestly, my biggest nitpick is the very obvious product placement for a lot of products throughout the movie. Zillow, Olive Garden, and they do their best with it. Like the Olive Garden.
Olive Garden's a little on the nose,
right.
But it was for a joke at the end.
Right. But like the Zillow ad was very forced and all of that stuff. But I get it, right? You want to fund this movie. Sega, has money, but they want to try and make it for as little money as they can. So like, I get it. It was obvious in the places it happened, but it didn't happen often enough that it took me out of the movie.
I also don't think Sega was super involved with the production of this. And after the first trailer had that infamous backlash, most of the movie was ready to go, I think, at that point, and it necessitated a lot of rewrites, a lot of redoing, and everything else. So there was probably some extra unforeseen scrambles for that kind of funding and support. So I get it.
Yeah, and it's fine. Like I said, they did mostly a good job with the jokes for it. I think that what saves this movie for me is the genuinely likable characters and the unlikable characters. Like, I mean, I loved Adam Pally as Wade, the lovable oaf who is bad at his job and knows he's bad at his job, or even I'm going to get his name wrong, but Lee Majdoub, I believe is how it's pronounced. And if I got it wrong, I apologize. But the actor playing Agent Stone,
yes,
who's not from the games, not a requirement, but totally gave a foil to Dr. Robotnik that made that relationship sing. Like the moment where he wants to yell at him. And so Agent Stone goes, should I hold myself against the wall? He's like, yes. And then he does it. And then he yells at him, like, or the latte scene, like, they're just very fun human moments. Or even showing Dr. Robotnik is a little bit more of a badass than he was in the games, even though he's still inevitably going to lose. Like when he throws the guy through the window and then Agent Stone goes to high five him and he throat chops him and he falls over. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of those moments, the things of, oh, in other circumstances, even when they talk him up in the like military advisor scene where it's like, oh, he's very competent. He's very weird. This is why we put up with him. And there's moments of, outside of dealing with this utter anomaly that is the Ben Schwartz voiced blue interdimensional Flash, that, he is very good at his job. Unfortunately, his job just got crazy and he is an asshole.
Yeah. And then I just genuinely love the heart of the movie, the couple adopting Sonic like a child, treating Sonic like a child, which he effectively is in this moment. He's not the full-blown hero that he's destined to be yet. I think that it has a good through line of heart that like makes you feel for the character and feel for the other characters involved and the narrative as it goes through. And I was charmed enough that like I never was sitting there going, ugh, when is this over? Like I was genuinely entertained from start to finish.
Absolutely. And it was fun also seeing what little nods they put to the Sonic series throughout. There's the Sonic the Hedgehog drawing in the very early part where someone was drawing him like a cryptid.
Yeah.
There's moments where the music and the motifs of the soundtrack of the games show up, the fact that the world he's originally from has the hills with the checkerboard pattern on the side like they do in there's things where they go, we can have this much of this and that's all it needs to be, and off you go. So there's those sorts of discovery moments, which I always like in a good adaptation like this. And yeah, no, it moved along at a good pace. It didn't try to, almost more than anything, while I do call this an origin movie, I call it more of an origin of the world that it exists in rather than of Sonic. Sonic's easy to explain, even as weird as it would be to see him in real life.
Right.
But to be like, this is why this is okay in the world right now. Here it is. Now let's throw in the Chaos Emeralds, baby.
Yeah, and I also like you talking about the nods. There were nods to other things that aren't Sonic related as well. Like in his room, he has a bongo and maracas to allude to Samba de Amigo, which is a Sega game. You know, things like that. You know, directly referencing pop culture. Him reading a Flash comics really fast, which like all of that stuff is nods to other things that absolutely influenced Sonic or have affected Sonic over the years. And I think that that was lovely as well. You know, I think that what I hope for the second one, which they've now released a trailer of with sexy Idris Elba Knuckles, is that it sounds like they're going to follow the narrative of Dr. Robotnik wants the Chaos Emeralds. He tricks Knuckles into believing Sonic is the enemy trying to steal them, brings Knuckles onto his team, and then Sonic has to convince Knuckles that Dr. Robotnik is the real bad guy. And I think that leaning into that story, even if it's still taking place on Earth, is going to add to make this Sonic movie feel more like a Sonic experience, adding these characters and adding these interactions. But I think also the first movie still does a fair amount of that. Also in this movie, we get the really fast, you're so fast that time stops moving, which we've seen with several versions of Quicksilver at this point.
I was going to say that the first time it happened, I went, and they're going full Quicksilver. Awesome. They need to. This is what you're supposed to do.
I love this movie trope. I want it to never go away. It's just fun to be able to follow the action. And like they do it twice. They do it in the bar fight scene and then they do it when he's fighting Robotnik on the building. And I think it also actually served a plot purpose. Whereas in the X-Men movies and in the Avengers movies, I don't really think it served a much of a narrative purpose. But in this, like he is able to do it in the first scene in the bar fight. So when Robotnik utilizes the power from the quill to move at his speed, you see him break free of the slow motion. And it's a cool way to show that effect that now Dr. Robotnik is also moving as fast, but we can still follow the action with our eyes.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that in the plot of the movie, they are able to give a reason why people would want Sonic, not just weird blue hedgehog, why capture?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, when he in the early scenes when he gets so frustrated and he causes, he knocks out, I believe they say, the entire Pacific Northwest with his like electrical outburst. Let's utilize that power. And Robotnik wants to do that, and he checks it all out, and cool. And you show that he is kind of a jerk and very obsessive and does not take losing well. And that also sets up his Mad Max mustache on in Sonic 2 and being like, you know what? It's probably not even about getting the energy anymore. Probably is. Probably not. I don't care. He just now really hates those who have defeated him. And that can be obsession enough. You set up why a human man would be so single-mindedly obsessed with that. When you were describing Robotnik before, the plot of things, I realized he's the summation of that I think it's a Spider-Man comic where he's yelling at Sauron, the dinosaur villain from Marvel Comics, who is like a genius level geneticist and is turning people into dinosaurs. And Spider-Man just like, but you could cure cancer. I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs. Like, it's that. He just wants to make robots. He doesn't want to save the world. He just wants to make robots and feel superior.
Yeah.
And okay, here we are. I'm here for this. Let's strap in.
Yeah, and I mean, and that bonus scene at the end, right before the credits, where we see Robotnik in the mushroom planet. He shaved his head, his mustache has exploded, and he looks like the Robotnik from the games. And like, I like that there's a narrative reason for it. There didn't need to be, but I think it's funny. It's ridiculous. He's already been shown as someone who is a little unhinged. And so for him to go full Mad Max at the end of the movie, I mean, just made perfect sense.
And they give him the handlebar mustache throughout the entirety of the movie that you feel like, okay, that's a very restrained way of suggesting the Robotnik mustache. Like, I get this. This is a mustachioed villain who's a little weird. Oh,
Yeah.
and then they fully commit. It's
Yeah.
those. I do love when a movie is just like, oh, that's a really good reference. That's the thing. No, we're going all the way. We just wanted to lull you in a false sense of security. Okay.
Though I am curious where all that hair came from, because there was definitely less hair on his lip before the explosion. But hey, who knows?
Who knows how long he's been there?
That's true. When we see him, he's probably been there a while already. So
Either a year or 5 minutes. Either way, that's what I want. And, maybe his drone technology was keeping his mustache at bay. Like, he doesn't have to wax it or anything. He has drones to do that. But now he doesn't. This is what he's been hiding, his secret.
His great secret.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Anyone who's been following me online knows that I've been a loud advocate for both Venom movies. And I think I love this movie for the same reason I love those movies, that they commit to the bit. Even if it's not the most brilliantly well-crafted movie. First of all, not every movie or video game experience needs to be brilliant and life-changing. Things can just be okay and still entertaining and enjoyable, and that's fine. Like, not everything has to be groundbreaking. And I think that, honestly, having two video game movies that are entertaining, Detective Pikachu and now this one, Sonic, I think is a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, that alone is groundbreaking.
Especially considering we're coming up on next year sometime, a Mario movie that not a lot of folks have faith in, myself included. And so to have a Sonic game that feels fun and feels good, I'm much happier to have, especially since I'm a big Sonic fan. So I was always going to have rose-colored glasses to some degree, but I think the quality also of it just being entertaining and a fun movie to watch is what we needed. And I think hopefully they can build on that. And that's what I experienced with Venom and then its sequel. Venom 1 was bonkers. It made little sense. And I still had a great time. And then the second one just builds on that. And now lets both Woody Harrelson and Tom Hardy be at 11 while everyone else is at a 7 in a separate movie. And it works.
Yeah, you're right. And it's something where, given that Sonic is a character that is steeped from his very roots as a 90s mascot with tude, not attitude, apostrophe Tude, tude. It could be very easy to make this an absolute snark fest about everything and anything and whatever comes through, and the tropes. You could make this bad Saturday morning Deadpool.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And there is a certain earnestness of just making him like wild and weird and out there, and I think that's the right adaptation. And I'm sure that in more recent games of Sonic as well, they've moved away from it being quite so tapping his foot, staring at the screen will actually cause a game over if you don't move him for 3 minutes on Sega CD. Actually happened to me. I had a phone call. But anyway, I also enjoy the fact that, like, look, Ben Schwartz's performance as Sonic is utterly delightful. And if you've watched any of the recent DuckTales cartoon, it is very in line with his performance as Dewey, and that's exactly what it should be. That's exactly what I want it to be. And from the get-go, when he comes in, it's like, which came out first? Oh, this came out after. But when did they record? I don't care. He's in that mindset. This is great.
Yeah. Like the current version of Sonic, there's a lot more heart in a different way, but the comedy is definitely just not like. He's snarky and he has that tude that we talked about. And I think he's entertaining in the games, but I can see how he could be grating. I think that Ben Schwartz brought a warmth to it that just didn't exist for the character in its current iteration. And that has nothing to do with the voice actor or the games. I think he's just evolved in a different way in the video games than he has in this movie. And he could still go there and could learn and become the leader of a revolutionary team of animals to fight Dr. Robotnik on a different planet. We could get there at some point. We could have Princess Sally and Antoine. Who knows?
Yeah, I was about to say, how many characters do we introduce before this becomes a furry movie? I'm not mad. Right. Again, I just want to know for facts.
Right, exactly. We have to plot the timeline. We have to keep the lore.
I would like to know, what is the tipping point? I am very much about Theseus' ship. When does this become? When does this become?
I mean, I think sexy Knuckles Idris Elba is the tipping point personally, but I also love that in an interview he said he's not going to make Knuckles sexy, and I was just like, you don't control that. That is not up to you, my friend.
You could try as hard as you can, but this is the internet, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate
Mr.
where
Elba,
your heart's at.
You wonderful Mr. Elba, you. Unfortunately, the internet.
Yeah, it is out of your control, and I think already is being spun. But be that as it may. Talking about the first movie, I think that I'm hopeful for the second movie based on what we got. I also love the end credits being over a pixelated version of the movie's events. I think that's fun. Honestly, if they made a version of Sonic 1 that was just framed around that pixel art with the loose narrative of the movie, I would play the hell out of that. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, even if it's just like explore the world.
Yeah.
There's no time limit. There's no whatever. Like, this is just what's going on. All right, cool. The art looked great.
Yeah, it really did. And the music was really good in the movie as well. I think that all in all, a movie like this could have been a complete disaster. And I don't personally believe it was. I know there are folks who don't like it, and that it's totally fair. It's, again, not groundbreaking.
As of this recording, it stands at 63% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right.
Which isn't bad. Not great, but not
bad. Yeah. And I think that I don't need every movie to be The Matrix, right? I don't need every movie to like open my eyes and make me think. Those movies are great and important, but I think movies where I can just laugh and giggle and go, oh, look at the cute hedgehog are just as important.
It's the same way with the games we play. There are games that we play where, well, before we started recording, Matt, you were telling me about Life is Strange True Colors, and I need to play that game. It's just I haven't had a time recently where I needed to sit down and cry. And it's you play a certain game to connect with characters and have necessary catharsis. You play certain games to ponder your choices and the consequences and following the frame of the world you're put in. Is that what you're supposed to do? Do you just follow orders blindly, or do you wonder about what happens when you press X to do whatever? And sometimes you just want to break robots. I have never played a Sonic the Hedgehog game for its plot.
Nope.
And that's never to its detriment. It honestly is to the credit of Sega and its great history as arcade makers. More than anything else, their history as a company that has made phenomenal arcade games, experiences, technology. It is when things are referenced in other games, like when other Sega stuff shows up in Shenmue or its, spiritual successor, Yakuza, it is so much about those experiences and that arcade feel. And yeah, I mean, Yakuza exists. They can tell great narratives, but Sonic the Hedgehog is... And look, I did watch the cartoons growing up, and they do put a bunch of story. There is a bunch of that.
And there are comics as well, yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot out there. I know, this feels a lot like me being like, just let people enjoy things. But there is a certain thing of like, not every movie needs to be Oscar bait. Not everyone needs to be big explosions. Not everyone needs to be quiet, character introspective. Not everything needs to be romance, horror, whatever it is. You just want an experience. And you go with that. And I feel like Sonic committing to the bit and being just a big, fun, actionable, action-y experience is in the spirit of the game and is the correct or a great spiritual adaptation of what makes the game series so everlasting. That and furry art. Don't search Sonic with safe search off. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not shaming people. I'm just there's just, there's a lot of factors in how
you learn things on the internet.
Unfortunately,
sometimes
the internet
by accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think also this movie has a lot of parallels to the first Sonic game. The first Sonic game is a fun game, but now that Sonic 2 exists and Sonic 3 exists, there's almost no reason to play the first game, but it walked so Sonic 2 and 3 and Knuckles could run. And I think this movie is doing the exact same thing. Is it a perfect movie? No, but its place exists so we can get to Sonic 2 where it looks like they're going to include a lot more of what makes Sonic and his world so interesting.
Yeah, and they were able to... I also appreciate their restraint because by making the rings that he has do what they do and act as they do, which is something that the pedestrian rings Sonic collects in the games, I don't think they've ever functioned like that.
No.
Granted, if you collect enough of them, you can go to another world. So maybe they have, and it's been staring us in the face this whole time. But making it that, and making it that MacGuffin, and then in the final fight, he's carrying the bag, and every time he gets hit, he's dropping the rings. It makes sense. Yeah. I love that. As well as the fact that, and they don't make a big deal out of it, but it is there. And there are no Chaos Emeralds in the first movie. I feel like that would be too much complication. Again, it's an origin story of how this world works. And putting Robotnik in a state where he is out of his element and he finds the Chaos Emeralds because those show up in the trailer, I don't think that's spoiling anything.
No.
Knuckles is here. There's more Sonic Chaos Emeralds. You got to have it. And if that is a spoiler for you, honestly, it's just bringing you up to speed. No pun intended. So the fact that they didn't put that in the first movie or anything like that is, again, the Chaos Emeralds are in Sonic 1, but they're just kind of there. They're a thing to collect. Sonic 2 gives us Super Sonic. Will Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie, also give us Super Sonic? Probably. I don't know. But there's things that they're setting up, and I'm genuinely curious about what they're going to do with the world. And you know what? I call that a big success for the movie because I'm now invested.
Yeah. And the world building was there. I mean, the stuff with Longclaw, who I'm not sure is if in the comics or the original source material. But the tribe that they're attacked by in the beginning of the movie, the Echidna tribe, are from the games. They were featured prominently in Sonic Adventure 1. And, the legacy of Knuckles protecting and Knuckles' people, the Echidnas, protecting the Chaos Emeralds, is also woven through the Sonic narrative. And so it's not like they didn't even allude to that kind of stuff in the first movie. And so they were doing some world building based on the games as well. And so I do think that Sonic 2 is just going to improve on the first movie's formula from toe to tip.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give them the credit for the fact that in the opening bits, I definitely had a little bit of, if we have a whole movie of this, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about it. But they allude to a larger, weirder world and then ground it on Earth. And they get us invested with it. And now I think they're going to open it back up to that weird, larger world. And I feel like that was the right steps. That's a good pace to do.
Yeah, if you steep everyone in lore that they might not understand if they're not connected to the games, you're going to turn some people off. In the same way that the Marvel films started with Iron Man, introduced us slowly to a world of superheroes and built from there. I'm not saying that this is comparable to Iron Man. I'm just saying Iron Man does a similar thing. It gives you some believable lower stakes that you can understand, technology, a man in a suit of armor, and then they build it out from there. And then eventually we get talking raccoons and all sorts of other stuff, And I think that's the smart way to do it, especially for a broader audience. And you could watch this movie and know nothing about Sonic and still be entertained, know who Sonic is. You might not know who Tails is in the post-credit scene, but beyond that, most of it is not fan service. Most of it is setting the stage for people who want to understand this version of Sonic, this world, which isn't going to be the same as the video games, and that's okay.
And that's the thing. And Sonic has had enough adaptations and enough... There have been comic books. There were 2 Saturday morning cartoons that were vastly different in story, vibe, stakes, continuity, as well as the fact that the continuity has restarted so many times in the games. And there have been further animated shows. And it is just like comic book characters in terms of there really isn't a one true canon. There's things we can agree on. If you make Sonic slow as a course, you've done something wrong. But if he's blue, if he's a hedgehog, got to go fast, everything else is a bonus. And honestly, I feel Iron Man is an apt comparison there because over the last 20 years, there has been this evolution of adapting nerdy media where it's kind of okay, let's do the cloud picture where the more something is there, the clearer it is. It's what are the clearest pieces of this? Okay, what can we do with this, and what can we allude to, and what can we build on? Having the Echidna tribe attack in the very opening of the movie, if you don't know where they're from or what they are or anything else, it's just more weird animal stuff that I guess Sonic kind of fits into. But if you do know, great, you get it. and you know that there's going to be more, and they don't try to explain exactly what Sonic is. They don't try to explain what Sonic is at all in the movie. And again, I like that. You don't need explanations for everything. You know what he does, and we can go forward with that. And I'm sure there's going to be looks into Sonic's history, and he was born with a special power. So he's not part of a tribe of like blue hedgehogs that all have this sort of supreme power to them. Like there's something unique about him. Do we get the answers to that? We might not. But I don't know if we need them. But it's setting a lot up.
Yeah, I think that ultimately, if you've not seen this movie yet and you either really love Sonic or you just have a loose understanding of Sonic, I think this movie is still for you. I, as a super fan for Sonic, really had a good time with it. I think that it was smartly cast and written in a way to make it approachable for anybody, not just fans of Sonic. I'm also a big advocate of diversifying the media as it changes mediums. You know, a lot of people complain that movies aren't like the book. And while like I'll always say that the Jurassic Park book is superior to the Jurassic Park movie, the Jurassic Park movie is different, and it needed to be different to be a movie and was still affecting in a different way. You know, the spectacle of those animatronics were more important than showing a violently dismembered staff member in the Velociraptor cage. Like they allude to it, and that I think is better for film. But like ultimately adaptation has to change and evolve. And if they had given us a Sonic movie that was about Mobius and about the revolution with the animals versus Robotnik, I just don't know that it would have done as well. I might have enjoyed it, but I don't know that it would have seen the success that this movie absolutely saw as a result of them making it more approachable.
Right. And if you were to make a fully CGI animated Sonic the Hedgehog movie, you know, I mean, the Sonic Boom cartoon had your Saturday morning CGI kind of animation, and you have things like Into the Spider-Verse that came out that is fully animated but does incredible things with the medium, and we've been getting a lot of great animated films that the evolution of animation and VFX and CGI has been incredible, nothing short of, and they really should get a union, I really wish. But that's not what we're here to talk about, unfortunately. But you could have that, and it would probably be a stellar Sonic movie, story, action, everything. I don't think you'd get nearly as many butts and seats. The spectacle of having a live action movie where Sonic shows up, we all showed up. Like, Matt, you are admittedly the bigger Sonic fan out of the two of us. I like Sonic. And I am currently, hopefully, going to have my analog pocket in a couple of days. And I tell you, I am so excited to play Game Gear Sonic again. But that's my niche. That's my weird niche thing. And I've played some modern Sonic, but okay, cool. And if a big one came out, like, you know what? If we were hanging out and you're like, you need to see this movie, great, I'd see it. But it would be for the nerds, which isn't a bad thing, but may not be what they wanted or what they were going for. I feel like this was more of a Paramount thing than a Sega thing.
Yeah.
And so, they needed to adapt, and they needed to make that spectacle be what it is. And you know what? Let's call it a success.
Yeah. I mean, I am inclined to do so. And again, like, I think movies like this and Venom and a few other movies that are just kind of off the wall and entertaining, I think have made me realize how seriously we take our movies. Like, I love the MCU. I can't wait to see Spider-Man No Way Home.
Same.
Hopefully by the time you're hearing this, I have seen it already. And I'm so excited for that movie and other movies along the lines. I've been loving Hawkeye. I think what they're doing with the Hawkeye series has been brilliant. Honestly, one of my favorite of the Disney Plus shows. But it's nice to have stuff that we don't have to take that seriously or follow this larger canon or like have this, like, there are other movies outside of Oscar-winning movies and MCU movies and everything in between. I know I'm being really broad, but like, I like that movies like Sonic exist. Again, if it's not your cup of tea, that totally makes sense. But I think for anyone who's looking to just be entertained and wants to watch a fun kids movie that you're accepting, this is for kids. I'm an adult who gets to enjoy it, but this was not made for me. This was made for kids. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. I think you'll be entertained.
And I think also it's worth touching on the fact that as adaptations happen, novelizations of movies, movie adaptations of novels, Netflix series about video games or whatever else and all the things in between, the idea of needing to adapt massive stories or small stories or whatever else. Like The Witcher definitely should be a Netflix series.
Yes.
Castlevania very much works as a Netflix series because of the width and breadth. And I mentioned the both of those because The Witcher has all of this deep lore. And yes, I know it started as a novel series, but also a lot of people know it from the video games. And so you need to have that long breathing exploration of everything and big builds and whatever else. And Castlevania, you could make a movie, and you probably could make a damn good movie. You could just do a Belmont and have a great time. And put that on a t-shirt. Do a Belmont, have a great time. Castlevania. But honestly, taking something that is a very arcade experience can make for an excellent movie because you don't need to get bogged down with so many details. You can, but you don't have to. The Super Mario Brothers movie, I think, one of its many missteps was trying to fit everything in and make references to everything and make everything make sense in a way. Whereas MCU movies have taught us, and a lot of other adaptations that have occurred over the last 20 years, that, again, you take what works and you build on it and you work around it. And taking something either a little looser or a little more open or a little smaller or shorter. And because Sonic games, if there's any that are 80-hour experiences, I don't know them. They're only 80-hour experiences, and it takes you that long to try the same levels over and over and get good at them and everything else. So taking something smaller, as it were, not in popularity or fame or recognition, but in, okay, what are the little like anchor points? That works for a movie. You can make a 90-minute movie that hits the beats. And I did say it's a bit of a by-the-numbers movie, but who cares? It is an enjoyable movie, as you said, and as I agree, it is a very enjoyable movie. And I think that works also to the credit of the source material they're adapting and their discretion in adapting it.
Yeah. I'm curious, did Sarah enjoy the movie as well?
She did. She had a great time. I don't think I mentioned it on the recording. I might have said to you before. I was like, I did watch the movie in order for us to talk about it. It was a back burner movie where I was like, I'm not going to go to theaters to watch it. Then everything happens and everything is happening. So like, oh, I do want to talk about it. Yeah, and the trailer did just drop. Let me watch the movie. And Sarah was like, I need to watch it too. So let's find a time we're doing this. So yeah, no, she had a great.
I love that.
Yeah, we both very much enjoyed the movie. And she also is not a dyed-in-the-wool Sonic fan. She is... I don't think she would call herself a Nintendo fangirl, but she is. And she plays other systems, but she didn't grow up with Sega. Her first real Sonic experiences, I don't know if I've said this on the show, but I just think it's a fun anecdote, is so I currently am in possession of a Sega 32X.
Nice.
Yes. My friend Sean found it amongst his old stuff when he was kind of cleaning out his closet and sold me a bunch of his collection. He's like, hey, if you want it, give me some money. If not, help me sell it. And in the meantime, can you get it working? You hold on to it. You've got the stuff to make it work. Have fun with it, but let's figure this out, because he's a great friend. And so while trying to get the 32X working, which did require a little bit of opening it up and fiddling with it, while I was doing that, I had my Sega out with the Sega CD. So we're just goofing around and like putting stuff in, making sure, because of how power buttons and things work on it. And, you know, the Sega CD starts if there's a CD in there, and if not, whatever else. So while I'm fixing the 32X, I just threw in Sonic CD. And I think Sarah has played other Sonic games, but this was the first one that she went, oh, I like this. This is really good. She didn't dislike the previous Sonic games. She likes something a little more platformy than speedy.
Right.
And Sonic CD is that.
Absolutely.
Because you got to find the machines. You've got to go back in time. You've got to find the post to go fast enough. And she played through it twice. She doesn't replay games. She just got to the end. It had a save feature, so it's also great. And did that. It's like, all right, let's get the good ending. So we did it. We got the good ending, not by getting the time stones, but by making good futures, because dang, that special stage. Fun, tricky. And then when I got the 32X working, we threw in Knuckles Chaotix.
Oh, man. The
sheer gulf between her enjoyments of those games is vast.
I'm sure.
Everything she likes, it's What did she like about Sonic CD? Chaotix is the opposite of that. Weird physics, gotta do speed. Is there platform? No. Is there anything to explore? Not really. There's kind of RNG about what levels you're doing. What the what? So there's a very fun thing, and I just wanted to put that out there to be like, my spouse who knows who Sonic is, but isn't like, does not know any of the lore, recognizes the music, like that sort of thing. Yeah, she really enjoyed the movie too.
I love that you brought up Knuckles Chaotix. Knuckles is my favorite character in all of Sonic games and Sonicdom. And I wanted so much from that game. I bought a 32X just so I could play that game, and I was so horribly disappointed by it.
Yep.
And like, and he's never gotten another chance to lead a game since, which is a bummer.
They've buried Chaotix, which is a shame because there is some great ideas in there. And as far as the evolution of what they were doing with special stages and like 3D scaling and whatnot, it's actually a really cool special stage. I love the concepts they've got going on there. Unfortunately, the rest of the game is a rush job and clearly something they were trying to push as selling. You were the target audience. You bought a 32X to play a Sonic game and one that starred Knuckles. It's like, okay, it had Mighty the Armadillo as a protagonist. No, it's Knuckles now. Well, it's going to be on this thing. No, it's on the 32X now. People will buy it. People did.
Yeah, that's true.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's a bummer because I think that it's one of the more gorgeous looking early Sonic games too.
Oh, it's incredible. Like popping it back in. I played through a bunch of other 32X games. Hit or miss. I got about like 8 or 9 of them in my possession right now, including, Star Wars Arcade. Great. Cosmic Carnage.
Ugh.
Don't look into Cosmic Carnage.
Don't. It's
just
bad. It's a bad game.
It's not offensive. It's not gory. It's just bad.
It's just bad.
But Knuckles Chaotix, like, yeah, I popped that in. It is beautiful, especially after coming off a Sonic CD. Also gorgeous, great music, everything. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, yeah I definitely want to. So all this to say, I do want to play a game that is the credit sequence of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I'm there with you. Let's do this.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think that this movie is also worth making a judgment on your own. If you have Hulu, it is free to watch on Hulu if you have a subscription. So that's where I watched it.
Same.
But I think that ultimately I still recommend this movie. And if you've been curious about it, give it a watch before the new one comes out next year. I think it is a good, not great movie, and that's okay by me. We, of course, would love to know what y'all think about the movie. I know there were people who were vocally against it online, and that's fine. But like, if you didn't like it or you did like it, tell us why. We discussed some of the downsides to it and some of the negatives, but mostly we wanted to celebrate what it got right in anticipation of the new one.
Yeah, and why we're excited about the new one, too.
Yeah, but if you have thoughts about it, if you are a Sonic fan and loved it, or you're not a Sonic fan and loved it, or anything in between, we would love to hear your thoughts. As always, you can find this show on Twitter at funandgamespod. You can find it at Gmail. You can send us an email at funandgamespod@gmail.com. You can also find, pretty much if you Google at funandgamespod, you will find us anywhere. You can also find me at DJ_Stormageddon and find Geoff
at Geoff, Geoff. Geoff makes noise on Twitter as well.
And then, of course, go to Certain POV. You can find a bunch of other incredible podcasts on the network with us, just like us. Also, if you have a moment, give us a rating and a review on your podcast platform of choice. I believe as of when we're recording, Spotify has now allowed you to start rating and reviewing there as well, which we appreciate it. We love hearing from y'all. And if you want to talk Sonic or Sonic movie, you can go to our Discord. There's a permanent invite link to our Discord server at certainpov.com. Geoff, have I missed anything?
No, I was going to go with the Discord thing there. That's fine. Because, yeah, whether on Discord, Twitter, email, whatever way, are there storylines, characters, elements of the Sonic franchise that you want to see in Sonic 2 or possibly even Sonic 3? The silly anecdote at the very end of watching the Sonic movie, we get to the scene with Tails showing up and Sarah went, "Oh, look at that. They're setting up for the sequel they're probably not going to get." And I was like, "No, they're getting a sequel. That's why we're watching the movie. Do you want to watch the trailer right now?" And we did, and it was great. What are your experiences with the Sonic franchise, the games, the comics, the cartoons, the movies? What do you want to see? What do you want to hear about? What do you want us to talk about in future episodes? And what do you like about the Sonic series, this show, whatever else? Just, this is a conversation. Thank you for being a part of it. I'm Geoff Moonen.
And I am Matt A.K. Stormageddon.
And happy gaming.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential screen beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
Writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not.
Can I call them screen beans now?
Fine.
Screen beans.
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're all screen beans now.
She will be mine.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.